There's one more panel, if you guys are still up for it. No coffee breaks. Mobile content and value-added services, moderated by Mr. Amer Lahham, Senior Associate, Booz & Co. He's out. Can we please have somebody call for Mr. Amer?
Senior Associate with Booz & Company. For those of you who haven't heard of us, we're a management consulting firm. I focus on media, obviously. My clients range from radio and newspapers all the way to TV and cable companies. Recently, our clients have been expressing an increasing interest, obviously, in the new media or digital strategies for their traditional media business, and that's what I've been spending a lot of time on. I have just recently published a paper on digital news and how is that going to impact newspapers in the region. If you're interested in it, I'll be more than happy to share a copy with you. The topic today, from my perspective, stems from a very basic fact, which is very few users today or consumers of digital content are willing to pay for it. A recent survey we conducted as recently as 2 months ago, 74% of respondents said they're not willing to pay for digital content. They now expect it for free. Value-add services came as one mechanism to induce these consumers to pay. Telecom operators as well as content owners offered them to basically monetize on their content. However, very quickly, applications surfaced with giants such as Apple, where you get the content and you get an amazing user experience, and you can actually describe this package as a value-add service. And all of a sudden, the telecoms and the content owners found themselves challenged. They've played the value-add services game, and all of a sudden there's this application retail business coming in, and it's controlled by giants that they don't have much control over. So the question that I want to kick off this panel with, and obviously after I introduce the speakers, is how should the telecoms and how should the content owners react to this business of application retail? Do they try and compete directly by launching their own application retail stores? Do they continue to compete on the value-add services angle against the applications? Or do they come up with a brand new business model that is completely different? Or do they partner with application stores retail, with the application retailers? This is the kickoff of the panel. With us today to basically talk specifically about this topic is a great set of individuals. With us today is Dr. Ammar Bakkar with the NBC Group, representing obviously the content side of the story. He's the director of new media at the NBC Group. He is the digital champion at NBC, which is something we recommend any major content provider to have a personality such as his. He is the general supervisor of scenario creative production. In addition to him being the head of the digital unit at NBC, he's also the general supervisor of scenario creative production. He manages all the interactivity and digital media at NBC. And back in the day, and in the digital world, back in the day is 2000, he launched bab.com, which is one of the earliest Arab news portals. Next to him, on the telecom side, even though his company may seem like a content company, is Karim Daoud, the CEO of Intigral, which is a digital conversions venture enabling many telecom operators and regional ISPs to deliver a compelling digital media entertainment, content, and interactive experience to consumers across platforms. Prior, obviously, to starting this venture, Karim was the director of, the executive director of 2454, which is the Abu Dhabi Media City, Abu Dhabi Media Zone. And then prior to that, he was the director of strategy and business development at LBC, played a key role in the partnership between LBC and Rotana. Obviously, prior to that, he hailed from one of the finest institutions called Booz & Company. On the telecom side as well, we have Fawaz Bassem. He's the Business Solutions Director at Zain in Saudi Arabia. He has 15 years of experience in the telecom sector. He's currently in charge of the team responsible for the technical realization of Zain products and services in the highly competitive market of Saudi Arabia. He previously had several roles in the region, including France Telecom in Lebanon and Wataniya in Kuwait. And then last but obviously not least is Jeremy Foster on the device manufacturer side, Head of Marketing, Government and Industry Relations with Ericsson. Before joining Ericsson, he worked with Vodafone New Zealand, where he basically managed the launch of the 3G network in the country, and then came to Ericsson as the head of marketing and government relations, and he's responsible for marketing the complete set of products for Ericsson in the region. Without further ado, I made the introduction. I would leave it to you to pick it up.
Hi everyone, and thank you again for staying for this session until this hour. Definitely, it is an interesting topic, and I think anyone who's close to the digital media and digital platforms knows that mobile content and mobile platforms are an important and essential component of the future of media. Despite so many difficulties when it comes to mobile content in the past few years, if you look at the numbers of sales for mobile content, they are always amazing numbers all over the world. That comes from the basic unit of content that started with ringtones and ringback tones, moving to videos and different types of content. The numbers are amazing despite several difficulties. And one of them basically that operators who are the platforms behind this content, they were extremely busy with what drives the main value for their companies, which is voice and SMS and later with rolling out their data services. Despite that, and despite this becoming a small department in every operator called VAS or value-added services, if you look at the numbers, they are amazing numbers, which shows that despite this small screen that we have, this small screen is attached to people all day long, and it makes sense for people to consume content on it for different reasons. Against all the odds, against all the predictions that you would hear about 10 years ago. This small screen is getting larger and getting integrated with the computer screen. So the importance and the significance of mobile content is increasing actually, and the importance of collaboration between content and media companies and operators is increasing. And what Amer just talked about, which is basically the whole mobile applications, it proves the concept. Before mobile applications, mobile content was something like a small thing. When mobile applications came with the right experience, the demand, mobile applications now is the second most important phenomenon after social media in 2010. In very short term, mobile applications became with that importance. Operators and media companies have to come back and work more and work harder if they want to take advantage of this historical opportunity that will grow for sure. One last note. In a conference like this, or wherever you hear this year or last year about digital platforms and business models and initiatives and entrepreneurship, all the things you hear about these things, but I would always request that we remember something very important, that basically the famous saying stands correct as content is king. All these platforms need the fuel of content, and it is a shocking reality that content in our market is still in its early stages. We don't have enough good content. This content does not appeal to a wide range of people. This content is lacking creativity, and it is lacking a rate of refreshing this content, introducing and keeping up with what people needs in comparison to web content and TV content. So yes, we need new platforms, we need new initiatives, but I don't think there is enough encouragement and enough support for all the creative people and that to create new types of content that works for these digital platforms. We will develop the digital platforms. They will become part of our reality. Social media will mature. We will have the ability to create different types of social relations with everybody we want, the way we want, as fast as we want, the promise of social media. But we still would need content which is something that needs a lot of investment that is not happening until now. That's basically what I have.
Thank you.
That's a very excellent point.
Thank you very much.
Karim?
Can you hear me? Yeah. So as Amer mentioned, I'll be giving the point of view of telecom operators as a company rightly there in the middle between the media world and content owners and telecom operators. We try to really make the pitch to telecom operators that not only they should do something in this space, but they have an obligation. In fact, they have a triple obligation. One towards the consumers that rightfully demand a better customer experience. The second is toward the media and application development community. Yes, it's vibrant and it needs a lot of support, and telecom operators can play a very big role. But the third one, more importantly, to be a bit selfish about it, telecom operators owe this to themselves. To bring this percentage of digital content on mobile from 2% to, I was seeing the best-in-class benchmarks in Korea, for instance, 12%. Now, without reaching this 12%, no need to be among there, but even an average would mean we could double or triple this. So I fully agree with you. I think telecom operators have a great opportunity there and an obligation towards the industry. I'll elaborate more on these points as the panel develops.
Well, I'll take the role of the telecom operator in sense we are the people who are made to spend the billions of dollars on spectrum, billions of dollars on infrastructure, and at the same time we are expected to provide I wouldn't say a reasonable, but we should be able to provide a very good user experience, and this is tough because it's very important to realize that things on the web are not the same as on the mobile. There's a lot of factors that you need to look into to deliver your services. So the bottom line it is right now, we end up being in some areas like a bit pipe. We were asked to deliver application, some of them real-time application. So it's causing exponential growth of traffic on our network. And at the same time, how you're going to compete? I mean, I'll give a very simple example, the Saudi Arabia market, which basically it's one of the most competitive markets in the region. It is extremely hard to compete there right now, at the same time providing good quality of service, good real-time experience. So it is a big battle. And we have to say one thing right now. We as a mobile operator that VAS and content is not a big, we're still a voice company at the end of the road. People buy a phone, people buy a service from us to make voice call, not to play games. Yes, games are sticky. It slow down the churn. It will make loyalty if you have exclusive content to you. However, the bulk of our work, we spend the 80-20% rule. We spend 80% of our time or 20% of our revenue, and 20% of our time on 80% of our revenue. It's the same. So clearly, there is issues here that VAS and content provider have to realize. I mean, when we started deploying 3G and we went to HSDPA, HSPA+, and now we're talking about LTE. This is extremely expensive growth when people think about it. You know, just roll out for those services costs billions of dollars. Just this, the cost of the spectrum, it's billions of dollars as well too. And to enhance a small example, if you want to just do stream a YouTube, it is most of you people have witnessed the buffering. And this is normal because YouTube, they never thought about putting this product on a wireless phone. They just thought about the web. And it's costing us millions of dollars to make sure things work. And at the same time, our content and vast partners expect the same experience. So we need to rethink about this relationship between all of us, because we want innovation. But at the same time, people have to realize there's enormous cost with it. And they need to be able to assist some way or another.
Thank you, Fawaz.
Yeah, I mean, our operators pay us to do all those builds, you know, and they're not cheap. I'd just like to talk a little bit about context. You know, when I joined the industry 15 years ago, we had this idea that one day you would walk past a hamburger joint and you'll get a text message saying, would you like a hamburger? And we never ever really saw this ever take off anywhere ever, because you need 3 pieces of information before that notification is useful. Yes, I know where you are, but are you hungry and have you got any money? Because if you're starving and broke and someone sends you a picture of a hamburger, you're not going to be very happy. It wasn't delivered in context. So somehow when we think about value-added services and we think about the operator's role and we think about applications, I think we need to draw back to this point, context. And if content is king and the other thing was the throne, I mean, for me, context is what is the most important thing. And Ammar mentioned this morning, it was about mobile, social, and he talked about local. And these are elements that build up the context of these kind of applications and services. And I think that operators, they actually know a lot about us as consumers. They know where we go because they deliver text messages and telephone calls and so on. They have some ideas of how much we spend. We have billing relationships. But I guess to date, as Fawaz mentioned, most of their business has been around delivering voice. I think one of the big challenges that we face as a telecoms industry is that up there on the wall, the tweeting. Now the interesting thing is that we read 3 times faster than we speak. 3 times faster. If I held up some text and started reading it, you would all beat me to the bottom much faster, right? And the youth of today, they can type really fast. Now the interesting thing is that we're actually in a shift now where those of us born before 1980, we like to talk. We like to have a face-to-face communication. We think this is real and genuine. Whereas if we're born after 1980, what we see is that the youth will prefer to chat. And not only can they chat with one person faster than we can speak because they can type really fast and we can read 3 times faster, they can drag in other information and they can create networks and mashups and they can reach out to thousands and thousands of people simultaneously. And we as a telecom industry, we haven't really found a way to add value to that because we're still looking after all of those oldies like us who like to talk. So I think coming back to value-added services around context, I think the most important thing is if we can add value to if we can listen into what our consumers are thinking, we can find a way to connect to what they value, then we have an opportunity to earn some money from them. This is no small challenge. And one last thing I'd like to mention on Fawaz's comment around infrastructure. You know, we have some places in the world where you have 6-lane highways. If you go driving in Europe, we have toll roads. You can save yourself a lot of time in Italy. You paid 20 euros, you save yourself 3 hours of driving. You could find a way around the back if you want. If we don't find a way to fund the continued investment in broadband, of all the things I love about coming to Beirut, the traffic is not one of them. And so what I fear is that we'll wake up one day and all of our over-the-top applications who have been saying, no, we don't want to pay anything, no, it should all be free, suddenly it's going to grind to a halt and we're going to end up like the traffic outside probably right now. So I think this is an interesting challenge. I don't have any good answers for you. That's probably a good place for me to stop. Add context, find the context, therein lies the value.
Thank you, Jamie. Just to kick off the discussion, I want to circle back to a point that Dr. Ammar brought up, which is the lack of rich content. You know, we've looked into this issue, we speculated, you know, speculation from us as Booz & Company, you know, to the reasons of why there is such lack of good, rich mobile content for users to consume. One obvious reason is the lack of money to invest. We're going through a recession. This may not be a priority to investors, especially that media companies, big media companies, are typically owned by holdings, and holdings have to prioritize funds. So lack of funds. Two is the lack of what we call pure digital content or pure digital companies that exist purely on mobile and on the internet. The existence, we believe, of these companies drives the process and the ecosystem of creating digital content. So that's the equivalent of YouTube, for example. The existence of YouTube is what evangelized video content purely online. So we're thinking maybe because this does not exist in the region yet, a pure, you know, a tipping point sort of ecosystem where pure digital assets exist, then that rich content is still not being created. I want to pass it down to the panelists and just really see how does this resonate with you, whether you can think of other reasons why that rich content is still an issue.
Okay, I think this is a very essential question. And if you look at the examples we have, if you look at YouTube or you look even at Apple App Store or iPhone App Store, basically what you see has happened is that creating a neutral platform where it allows people to upload their content and sell their content in different ways, meaning monetize their content. Mm-hmm. If you take YouTube example, or even the app stores, things start simple, small, more investment comes, more people come in, more ideas happen, and we have a much, much richer platform in a short time. Operators have not done that for different reasons. One of them, the reason I mentioned. And one of the reasons basically that you can easily see is the different mindsets between a telecom company and a media company. The telecom company has a mindset of investment and return of investment and an ARPU within a short period of time in comparison to how media companies or the web industry think. Web companies say we are not going to, media companies say we are not going to make money in 5 years. Forget about money in 5 years. Web companies say forget about money in 10 years. Don't talk about money or revenues in 10 years. Operators and telecom industry says 1 year, 2 years. The mindsets are different. So this is why I think a company like Intigral sounds like a very good move by the operator behind it, because you took a separate company because it needs a different mindset. It needs a different way of thinking. And this is what operators did not embrace because they come from a completely different investment background. But that hurt the whole idea of creating platforms, neutral platforms that encourage the creation of content and the richness of content. So again, to answer the question, and sorry if I took long, create the platform, create the experience, make it easy for people to be part of it, and I think the content will come.
So, Doctor, just before I move down to the rest of the panelists here, why did you hone in on telecoms in answering this question? I mean, you know, why didn't we talk about venture capitalists or deep-pocketed, you know, financiers that can basically champion this platform?
We have examples that say that. Look at App Store. The App Store is just a neutral platform that was created by a company in the States, and now it's dominating all over the world. In how many years? 2 years. In 2 years, the App Store is making more money than the whole mobile content industry around the world. So basically, that's an example. If you create a neutral platform, you will get people to create content. And at least there definitely are other factors, but from my point of view, this is the most important factor in encouraging content, basically, that we have a different mindset within a bigger mindset of the telecom industry.
Thank you. Anybody who wants?
Yeah, I'd like to step in. You know, app stores, I think, if we look at this Apple, the iPhone-based app store, who controls that? Apple does. Steve Jobs. You know, I think, and I'm not a developer, but they seem to be very tight around managing the ecosystem. They've somehow created a benevolence around creating growth. But make no mistake, I wouldn't call it neutral. I would call it a money-making activity. So what they've done is they've carefully sat down and engaged with each of the stakeholders. Consumers want to have fun, want to improve their lives. Developers want to earn money, and they're kind of bringing them together in a way. And the Apple touch, if you like, has been to create an ecosystem which they manage. You can't get out of it. You can only work within it. So, you know, they have a first mover advantage. I think, thank goodness for Apple. They showed us a new way to add value to consumers, but I wouldn't necessarily think that it's about being neutral. I think the internet is a generally neutral thing, and there's a lot of money-burning activities on the internet which earn no money for anyone.
If you allow me to add a point here, I mean, the whole ecosystem of content, I think everybody has a role to play. And I think what's missing in the region here and the Arab world is that we have a lot of freelancers, but there's no way for them to go take their work and publish it properly. This publishing, this aggregation mechanism is not there. This should be a non-profit organization to support those things, in a way. Not an aggregator. Aggregator is a different story. I'm talking about a way, because if I'm an artist, I make a film, a cartoon, something, okay? I have no way going all the way to different steps to do it. So we really need to think about it from a very holistic approach. Mobile operator, I'll tell you the truth, all the example that happened, mobile operator wants to start creating their own content, they're all failed. And even regional, like us in Zain, we failed miserably trying to have content across, because every country is different, every culture is different, we could not do it. I really believe that mobile operator has to facilitate. We provide the billing relationship. This you never have. It's very important for you guys. If we don't have the billing relationship, none of us will be in business. We provide the context, and I think Jeremy talked about it. I can tell you where the customer is in real time. I can tell you where the customer is, he made the first call or he made his first SMS of the day. I can give you all those details. It's for everybody to make use of it. Okay? So we are a facilitator. We will never be in the game of creating content because we will fail miserably. And I do agree with you. I mean, at the end of the road, we have shareholder values. At the end of the road, we're here to make money for our shareholders. We're not a non-profit organization at the end.
Let me please add to that. I think a company like ours, Intigral, that wants to bridge the gap between the telecom operators and media owners, content owners, would address exactly this need that we're talking about, this gap that has been identified as absolutely crucial. We are a content aggregator, yes, so that means we reach out to all the content available out there, and our belief is there is plenty of it. There is plenty of content, actually more than anybody can think of. The challenge is, how do we distribute it in a rich format? What type of applications and user experiences we build around this? And this is what we stand for. So when we approach telecom operators, we actually help them design new customer experiences around, let's say, categories or portals. The sports content, for instance, very popular in the Arab world, traditionally consumed as a premium service where you pay a monthly subscription and then you have the SMS information that you get around this. We created a portal kind of mirroring a lot of the very high-end experience you have with the Apple Store kind of applications, but the difference is we localize this a lot. So the content partners that we have would be the Saudi clubs, for instance. They are our partners there, and we help their content reach the customer through a richer WAP or ODP on-device portal experience. We believe there that there is a lot of opportunities bridging the gap between those two worlds.
And since Dr. was courageous enough to kick off the discussion, I will let you have one last word.
Basically, I think we're saying the same thing. When I say neutral platform, basically, if we want to compare it with the current situation, if you create a piece of video and you want to put it on an operator platform, that's kind of impossible. I'm not talking about NBC situation. NBC is a large group, and we enjoy good brands, and we have great relationships with different operators and different platforms. But I'm talking, if we want to encourage content to the market, and we encourage creativity, we have to allow this young man has created an interesting video to be able to publish it on mobile platforms other than the web or the iPhone App Store. They have to be able to come to the operator and say, I have this piece of local content, I want to put it there. And this has to happen in an automated way, and I bring it from home. And I think the issue of billing, if we put it in a different way, represents a major problem. In the current situation where any company, small company that created content to get their money back, at least they need 3-4 months. If they got their money, if they got enough licenses, if they enough the contract, if they were able to make it through the walls of the operators. And that's a situation that will not in any way encourage mobile content. Not only that, will allow the international platforms, the cross-operator platforms, whatever they are, to take over and dominate while operators are not taking advantage of the opportunity they have.
My name is Fawaz Awad. I'm Executive Vice President for the Middle East and Africa for a Norwegian company called Booz Communications based out of Trondheim. And we're a mobilization partner. What I'm interested in hearing is if you are so generous as to share with us your take on mobile services going directly to consumers free of charge and the ability to monetize it through B2B sponsorships, advertising, etc. And you know, I've raised this question back at Arab Advisors' first media telecom convergence conference a few years back. What is wrong with an operator's role as a bit pipe? What is so characteristically wrong about you assuming the duties of a bit pipe? It is inevitable. Okay, that is where you're heading. You cannot be a bank, you cannot be the cinema, you cannot go into my pocket and know about my health and expect the regulators to look the other side, the other way indefinitely. Okay, you are a telecoms provider, and being a bit pipe is not an insult. If you are a good bit pipe provider, you can charge good rates and make money that way. And to this day, I have not seen mobile operators fail in this region. To the contrary, they make very good money. And maybe if you actually find a way where we can exist all in this symbiosis, where we don't want to move into each other's territories, keep the specialists of media concerned with media and content, keep the people who are in charge of delivering the technology to us, delivering it the best way as possible. Maybe there is a way for all of the ecosystem to increase its value.
Thank you. Sayyid Fawaz.
Yeah, you're clearly right what you're saying. I mean, nothing wrong with being a bit pipe, but being a good bit pipe is costly. So somebody has to pay for it. So give you a small example. If you want to do a Skype on your mobile, the nature of wireless network with latency and jitter and everything, we need to put network element that will correct this. This is costly. Somebody has to pay for it. So that's what we're saying right now. We need to work together to make sure that, and there's a way for us as well to, that we're doing a lot of things right now today right now, there's not, every single network in the Middle East is a bit pipe. Nobody have done any policy enforcement. Nobody have done any special control on their network to make sure. So it's neutral. We want to give a good user experience. There is big competition, and that's how every operator can have a competitive edge. But this thing is costly. So all what we're saying right now, let's work together. Very simple.
Okay, in the back. On the topic, just on this topic, if you have a question or yeah.
Okay. My company is Imagimate. It's a two-part question, basically. So first one is, with the talk about having possible Wi-Fi cities, right? And the major problem being, really, it's content is actually eating up the bandwidth of the operators, and it's taking away from their main service, which is voice. So the question is, why won't operators go the one step and create the Wi-Fi cities, right? Which will basically move
They all failed.
Sorry?
They tried it. It's failed. It's a disaster.
Yeah. Oh, okay. So.
Just to give you an idea, one cell site is equivalent to roughly 400 Wi-Fi sites.
But then people are asking for premium service. They should pay for it.
Yep, that's fine. But what I'm saying is the law of physics, unfortunately, managing 400 Wi-Fi hotspots becomes completely impossible to provide the ubiquity of coverage, because you and I expect to be covered everywhere. So it's a nice idea, but unfortunately there's no magic, and it takes a lot of work to give coverage. Right downstairs where we are now, you can imagine it would have been a lot of work for all those operators to connect you now. So it was a good idea that was tried 5, 6, 7 years ago, and when they started adding hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of Wi-Fi hotspots and found that they couldn't get connected, everyone threw their hands up and said, actually, I'm sorry, this just physically doesn't work.
Okay, my second question would be regarding value-added services, specifically for voice. Why don't we see in the Middle East region, telecom operators offering the chance for developers to use the setup? So I don't know if you guys use their setup. So basically, if any of you have heard of Twilo, right? I send a web request to Twilo, and they can send them an MP3. It plays on someone's phone. They actually hear it. It makes a call. But I can't do that in the Middle East. What I have to do is pay international costs if I want to call someone in the Middle East. So why don't we have that kind of value-added service?
We do have this type of value-added services, in a sense, as a mobile operator. Give you a very simple example. Ring back tone. We open our platform for anybody to add their own MP3 in it, but the problem with this is that you want to put it and you want to make money out of it. So you need to go through an aggregator, because I cannot compete. I cannot have hundreds of thousands of people, everybody putting their own MP3. So this is the role of an aggregator, where he gives you the access not just to a single mobile operator, give you access to plenty of mobile operators. So everyone has a role here. But I really believe that we need to work on creativity. Look at the web. 1% of it, less than 1% is Arabic. It is translated to content on the digital world as well, same thing. We don't have a lot of content. We need to have bodies. That doesn't mean we don't have creative people. But we don't have, there's a gap between creativity and properly delivering it to. And I think that's something that we need to find a solution for. In Europe, they did find a solution for this. There's independent body that anybody who have a creative, they can go and publish it, and they're responsible for charging and proper provisioning and everything. I think this is really the big gap in here.
Okay.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. My name is Ahmed Bari. I've been working in the mobile telecom industry since 12 years back, especially in the technical department or technology department. Since 1 year ago, I started my own business, okay, and I did Mobi Media. Mobi Media, this is the bridge between the technology or the mobile technology and the media itself. And I can tell you that Mr. Fawaz said, who will pay? The most important thing in this equation right now is the business model, okay? The current business model of the content provider is the revenue sharing model. You have mentioned at the beginning of the presentation here that around 74 of the people in the Arab world doesn't like to pay for a content, and this is great. So the equation right now, if we will consider the subscriber, the mobile subscriber who will pay for this one, the market will stay as it is, okay? The most important thing, we should consider that the mobile, if the mobile is the 7th media channel, okay, why we can work on the same business model of the TV channel. Okay, the TV, NBC, for example. NBC has a lot of productions for the series, for the programs, and all of these productions, we all are watching TVs without paying anything for NBC, as example. Okay? The issue right now, we have, who is paying for this? Who's achieving also, MBC after all of this production, it's achieving a profit.
Yes.
Okay?
Advertisement.
Advertising. This is the issue. Okay? Now, the business model for the content, it has to be triangle, not two sides. Not the subscriber pay for the content. It has to have free content, reach to the subscriber, sponsored by advertiser. This is the win-win. And this is what I have, this model that I have in my company right now. But actually, I don't have the opportunity during some issues in my country last year.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks
just to jump on your question a bit and just ask the question, to Dr. Ammar, what are the business models that you've seen succeed in the region in terms of monetizing content? How, in your opinion, content providers have been able to monetize on their traditional content on digital platforms? What has succeeded, and more importantly, what has not succeeded? Just to piggyback on what you're asking.
I think it's an obvious answer that we are all going through thinking about. So we have the revenue share model. Basically, whatever people pay for content, we share revenue. We share it. The other model, which is basically mobile advertising, I will come to it in a second. But there is the third model, which is a kind of an integrated model. You put the TV content for free, you attach it to an extension on mobile or web or radio or something like that, which basically is borrowing from the strength of one media to support another media, which is kind of a temporary thing to launch content that it cannot continue. Mobile advertising, the early fathers of all these platforms, did not think of it as a main source of revenue for mobile content. Mobile platforms were not created in a way that cater advertisers. And simply, if you go to agencies now or go to big advertisers and you ask them to spend money on mobile advertising, they wouldn't do that. Yes, it's improving. Yes, it's changing. The platforms are catering for all of this. But until now, this hasn't happened. And I think this is a question that needs a separate session where we have people from agencies and big advertisers to tell us about the measurement issues and to tell us about the fragmentation that mobile content creates. Basically, what you watch is different from people who watch. And if I cannot launch a campaign that goes on a massive level, because the platform wasn't created this way, why would I do that? I would do it on TV, do it on all the mass media platforms. Mobile was not created to be a mass media platform. Was not created a media and content all of it together in part of, they were not part of the creation anyway. So mobile advertising sounds like the great solution, even for mobile apps. Put an app for free, has a huge reach, and start bringing advertising. And this is happening. But it did not attract the big budgets of advertisers, the 90%, 95% of the budgets. And then you cannot create a business model around it to a large extent.
I think there's a couple of things on that. I believe that mobile is a mass market advertising mechanism, but I think we just need to be very careful about how we use it. Now, we know there's a flow of investment from traditional broadcast advertising, like something on the wall, to interactive media, because we know actually how many eyeballs we got, how many people looked at that advertisement, for example. And if you're driving down the road and there's an advertisement for a motor car, how many people actually looked? It's impossible for anyone to know. Now, you heard this morning about augmented reality, and I think this is one of the pieces which helps create the context around, as I hold my phone up and I start looking at things, if I look at that wall and I start to get some extra information from that advertisement, not only do I get more information, but they know that I looked. Now, if I offer, for example, a free test drive, and I know that I have for every 10 test drives I sell a car, then we can start to connect. I advertise on the wall, someone looks, they start to, they get interested, and then they sell a car. So we start to connect the advertising to selling a product, which is ultimately what we're trying to do. I think what we've done today is we've tried to take this broadcast outdoor media idea and try to jam it down our mobile phones, jam it down our internet, our email inboxes, and of course it's spam. We're not happy about it. And the reason why we get so upset is because, you know, we carry our phones around in a pretty private, we carry it right here in our pockets. And when we open up that damn phone and it's not something I really wanted, I'm kind of upset, right? So I think that the real reason why we haven't got advertising on mobile is that we're not thinking about it as an interactive personal device. We're just thinking of it like a, you know, a leaflet in a magazine. So we need to change our thinking if we're going to monetize that.
Anybody else want to comment?
Yes,
okay.
very quickly. I fully agree that mobile advertising, from what we've seen, is definitely not, I won't even call it mature, but hardly picking up. This is something that we're facing a lot of resistance to attract here on the market. So in the interim, what can we do? We're experimenting, of course, lots of hybrid models where a first layer of content and information is provided for free. Experimenting some advertising, sometimes internal, because we're cross-platform. Sometimes I take advantage of my access to mobile to cross-sell some IPTV products or web products. So we experiment at least with the technology, and hopefully we can build over time a certain confidence that yes, you have brilliant measurement behind this to give comfort to the industry. But then my real purpose to actually stay in business will be to upsell premium services with the traditional subscription model. So this portal of sports, to come back to the example I gave, will have a first layer of free information available for everybody who downloaded the application. But then when he wants the exclusive English Premier League content, he'll go back to the traditional subscription, monthly subscription model that keeps us in business.
So very interesting, Karim. So what you're saying is the real money here is not in advertising, but really is in paying for content and premium content per se.
Yes, yes. Today, undoubtedly, the answer would be that.
Hi, George Jaber with Tata Communications. Assuming I'm living in Saudi Arabia and I'm a subscriber of Zain, let's say for the home and for the 3G, and that I get my content at home, TV, internet, etc., through a combination of Zain, Intigral, MBC, the whole ecosystem, Ericsson. And let's say my bill per month is around $500 just to receive the content, aside from the voice calls. From those $500, how much will go to each one of these companies, for example, assuming the content is coming from this ecosystem?
Well, very simple calculation. 50% go with the mobile operator. Because we assume the collection. So if you don't pay, we still pay our partners.
This is a very interesting question. Actually, it calls for revenge. But basically, if you talk about creativity and content, if you compare the percentages that operators in the Middle East make in comparison to the percentages of operators in Europe, in Europe they make 20% to 25%, 30%. But, and the rest goes to the value chain of content and production and aggregation, which makes it more lucrative and more encouraging for people to work around content and do content and invest in that field. And it makes sense because, again, these are value-added services. These are the extra stuff in the budget of an operator who makes a lot of money out of voice and SMS and other services. But it is one of the issues in the region that operators expect content to be cheap and to come cheap. And yes, the big content owners like NBC, Rotana, the sports owners, they don't easily accept this formula and they fight it and they get more because they have the premium content. But again, if you go back to the small companies that invest in content, and that, in my opinion, should drive the revolution of mobile content, if we can say that, in the year of revolutions, you need more money. And that money is still in our region not given.
So the bottom line, we need to really work on the new formula, that everybody have to understand the other. So,
but just actually, I mean, just to carry on with this discussion a bit, I think so far we've been immune from somebody like Apple in the region. Okay, it's not that Apple is not there, but Apple is nowhere near as dominant as it is in the US market and the European market. Where this whole debate now is more about, could be, how can we basically protect ourselves as a content owner, as a telecom operators from Apple, as opposed to how we can split the revenue. So I just want to pose it to this panel right now, as we're drawing towards the end of this discussion. How do you see this scenario evolving, the Apple entering the market scenario evolving? Is that ever going to happen? Are we ever going to be sitting down having the discussion of how content owners and telecom operators are going to basically protect themselves against application stores, right, that basically is taking a big bite of that revenue?
Yes. I'll argue that we have in this part of the world effectively a unique opportunity. Let's say lots of factors here in terms of speed of networks, in terms of type of content that is most widely consumed, as opposed to the international content that travels everywhere. And yes, until those device manufacturers come into the region and propose their portal-based model, the application portal, there is an opportunity for telecom operators and for content owners to partner and then develop very local applications that cater for the taste of their specific audiences and basically beat them at the game, be ahead of the game. There's plenty of models from jointly working on application portals, developing storefronts together, and making this content available to the audiences. I think we have a window of about 12 to 18 months where we have to do that because, again, the barriers to entry for the big device manufacturers are bigger in this part of the world.
Just to add a point here, really, I mean, we were a bit caught, as a mobile operator, we're caught off guard by this App Store concept. In a sense, right now, is that we all the time we say, look, we own the billing relationship with the customer. Now it's not the case anymore. Well, at least in the region, we still own it here. But today, right now, with App Store, you can just go buy those recharge card which is available worldwide and just buy your own content. So it's a complete bypass to us. So what do we do here? Either we kept lamenting the situation or we need to be more forward. And clearly we need to be more forward because we cannot go backward on this. So we realize that supplier now are part of this ecosystem. Handset supplier are part of this ecosystem. This is an opportunity for us. For example, ODP, it is a big opportunity for mobile operator. We need to take it further. How I can publish my service using online device portal application instead of the usual USSD, SMS, IVR, legacy things that nobody like anymore. I want an application on my iPhone to deliver this service to me. And we need to be in the game as well too. Clearly right now, we have another person who's sharing the money with us. And it's a fact of life, and we need to live with it. How it's going to be? They're going to be there for a while. I mean, Android is coming. Marketplace for BlackBerry is going to be live in the region in June, July here, after they fix the issue of the lawful intercept and filtering. Android, hopefully soon as well too. Mm-hmm. So really, it's a whole change. The game has changed in the region here. We have new partners. I am not sure about. I still have a question mark on this, but.
Anybody else wants to comment?
I hope that, I mean, we continue to have faith that the operators have a lot of value to add to all of us as consumers. We actually work pretty hard to hide all the infrastructure, so we've kind of been our own worst enemy. We hide all the equipment, and we probably need to be a bit more open about what's really going on inside our networks as we start to meet congestion. It's easy to feel when you're in a traffic jam because you can see the car next to you, you understand, you can conceptualize it, whereas when your phone, doesn't seem to work as well as you like, we just throw our hands up. So I think somehow we need to be a little bit more open about, what is creating this congestion so that we can start to, manage these applications and deliver them in a better way. Unfortunately, it's going to still cost money in order to keep investing, and I still think that we as an industry have a lot of value to add. So hopefully we'll find a way to keep connecting to consumers on that basis.
On that note, I am being told that we're out of time. Sorry for you that we could have, and thank you all for attending, and thanks for our wonderful panelists.